Awesome work there, and so is Adam Aguirre and a bunch of other people. But I'm excited about the opportunity. Previous to that, I was living in San Jose, California. I worked for ChannelFireball.com for about 2.5 years as their event coordinator. So I have a lot of TO experience from store level up to Grand Prix level, so I can answer questions about that as well. And I don't think anything else is necessary for that, so fair.
I'm Matt Williams. I'm level 3 from Tampa, Florida. I also will answer to Billy Willie, which is fine. I don't. I know a lot of the GPs, so that's probably the easiest place to find me. Other than that, I don't have anything cool like working for Channel Fireball.
Do you have more GPs than like anyone?
Not all for.
Okay, yeah. He doesn't. He's like a machine.
So. Other than that, I got nothing. Hand it over to the birthday boy.
Hey, hello. I'm Brian Perlman. I'm a level 3 from Orlando, Florida. I've been a judge for about 5 years. Yeah, my goal in the program is to find a ride to dinner.
Me too.
Oh, okay. All right. We're in the same boat, so be appreciated there.
Brian, your goal should be finding a ride back to the airport.
Oh, that too.
Right. That's one step at a time. Right? Yeah, one step there. Crawl, walk, run, all that whole thing.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, and yeah, that's all I got. You wanna?
I mean, from this point on, it's up to you guys. Ask your questions.
I got one. How are you going to get back to the airport?
Just jump. I will take you back to the airport.
Crawl, walk, run. How we're gonna do it?
Go for it.
Yes, so this is my hipster Clark Kent outfit. I've got a Superman shirt under the pink shirt here.
I see it.
Shh. It's a secret to everyone.
Can you take off your glasses? On camera, yes.
Whoa, where did Just Dose go? Oh, there he is. Woo!
This is
It really is.
This question over here.
So traditionally, L1s have been kind of tested on what they're going to be doing at FMs. So we kind of like stay away from like, rares and the really crazy stuff. Now with basically every format being FM sanctionable, do you see any changes in the L1 test?
That's a great question. Probably not. I don't think any of us have inside information about that.
There is going to be an MTR change coming up before the wacky FNM formats become legal. We do not know what that's going to be. We just know that it's going to come. So be prepared. Be excited to read. As far as the test goes,
So
probably not going to.
The question was about preparing L1s for competitive REL, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay. So
I think it was also talking about just the different rules and regulations for
for like random FNM formats?
modern. It's not modern, it's not standard now.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see, because right now we have 2 HG questions on the L1 exam. I mean, I haven't taken an L1 exam in a while, but I'm pretty sure there's 2 HG questions on it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some commander questions or something else that's common. But realistically, a lot of those formats, most stores aren't going to be running. They exist so that they can. If your local community's like, oh yeah, we're going to do Tribal Wars constructed. Great! I love Tribal Wars. I want to come to your store. But you're going to have like 5 people show up.
And you're not going to have a question on the test where it's like, how many elves do you need to have in your elf deck for it to be considered Tribal Wars legal?
Probably not.
20, by the way.
Change them spell as do tribal instants and sorceries.
I think also, maybe not necessarily for the test, if you're in an area where your FNM is going to be modern, the judges that are going to be running those events and want to be an L1 are going to already have some experience with that event, that format already, because they're going to want to. I think there's an effort to be an L1 that you just want to be prepared to be able to run the FNM. Therefore, if you know your store is running Two-Headed Giant, Modern, Legacy, whatever it may be, you're going to want to take that time to figure that out anyway.
Well, not just that, but to answer your question, which I think is really more about are we training judges to handle this, is yes. If you come to me and you say I want to be a judge and my local store runs F&M every week, and they do chaos drafts. Okay, I'm gonna go, okay, well, I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know about chaos draft, because even though it's not on the test, this is extremely relevant for you. So we're gonna be able to tailor training to that, to specific individuals, as well as having the information available on resources online. But it's probably not gonna be on the test, because I mean, I could dish out 25 questions just about that, just about all those formats, and still not really cover it.
My main concern is like a lot of the judge classes and the judge rookies, you'll have on some more advanced topics, L1s don't worry about this, L1s don't worry about that. It doesn't come from standard. Like, you don't have blood moon standard, that can have like that kind of effect type things politically. But you know, if people start doing more modern, you know, Herbor blood moon is a very common thing.
That kind of comes down to the same thing where if I'm working with, if you come to me and say I want to be an L1, and we do standard every week, versus I want to be an L1 because my store doesn't have one and we do modern every week, I am going to ask you different questions. I am going to talk to you differently about what it is you need to know.
And I'm not concerned on the one-on-one level. I'm more
Okay, so the reason why Two-Headed Giant is on the L1 test is because there are enough Two-Headed Giant events to merit it being on the test. So if modern events get to the level of Two-Headed Giant events, then there might be start being some modern questions on there. However, okay, Two-Headed Giant is got some weird rules, okay, that are specific to it. With modern, might be some cards, but you know the way you handle triggers don't change because it's modern. So the standard questions are still legitimate. If Commander explodes and takes off, then yeah, you're probably going to start seeing some questions about general damage and stuff like that. But it's all the formats have to earn their spot on the L1 test, and they earn their spot by people playing them in more than they do now.
Does anybody else have a question?
So, you said that the test for L1 is probably not going to change. The requirements to be able to test for L2 did change. Should we expect increased requirements to take the L1 test, other than having a store to judge at and being entered as a judge in work?
I don't think we haven't heard anything.
That's a really good question, and it's one that I am asking myself. I don't think any of us know the answer to that question at this time.
So if it's similar to the way the L2 requirement changes happened, what happened was there was an internal group. Andy Heck went off and did some work, consulted some other judges, and then put that information out to the L3s to kind of beat on it for a few weeks before it was released publicly. Nothing like that has happened for L1 that we are aware of. No. I mean, really what's going to happen, like I said, we know that something's going to come out with the MTR. Okay, we know that they're going to change that, and if it changes a little bit, great, probably not. If it changes a lot, there might be something, but probably not.
I think there's also something I want to focus on here too. There's a difference between just a knowledge check that a test provides and the ability to perform as a judge. Not everything is captured within that test. So these are things that you can handle in your interview. If you know you're setting up an L1, a potential L1, and it's going to be a store that runs modern, help them with those things. Or if it's a chaos draft or a weird format, make sure they're abreast of that information, and can be a useful judge in that store. Don't rely on just the L1 test or an L2 test to be the end all on if someone can be a judge or not. That's not everything. That is just a portion of it. The interview is important.
Yeah, that.
Interview and mentoring process. Interview and mentoring process.
Yes.
Does anybody else have questions? I've got a page full of them if you don't, but there's a lot of people here that could ask questions. Nobody?
I got a question for Jess here. Jess, as the new L3 on the block in the glorious Southeast region with the prestigious judges such as Turner and McDowell, how do you plan on making your impact? Aside from Alabama.
Simmer down.
Well, I mean, it's not like Mississippi has.
You know, so I mean, Turner and McDowell have definitely made an impact in the region, and I'm not necessarily I don't see it as a situation where I have to live up to somebody else, if that's what you're getting at. But I think what you're actually asking is, what are you gonna do as an L3 in this region? Because you're kind of here randomly now. What am I going to do to make an impact? Well, I don't know how long I'm going to be in Alabama, to be honest with you. And part of that's because I have school stuff going on and other things. One of my goals for the region, and I've talked a little bit about this with Brian, is I want to build not just, I don't want to be the guy that everybody comes to in that region and says, hey, I have an issue, deal with it. What I want to do is build a community that deals with its own issues and has those leaders in it. Because then if I go somewhere else, I won't leave this power vacuum, so to speak, of, well, who do we talk to now in Southeast Alabama? Because nobody right now. That's what I need. That's what I need to fix. Is I actually want to. So if you want to ask me how we're going to make an impact, my plan is to actually build a community in that area. Probably a little bit in the Panhandle of Florida. I don't actually know how geography works down here, so areas where there are no judges around.
Southeast.
Yeah, Panhandle
In
is
Alabama, how long have you already forgotten how to read a map? Was that?
California, they only look at themselves.
Oh.
You know what? So here's another thing. I actually thought. So I was delayed. Some of you know I showed up late today. I was delayed over half an hour because I took a wrong turn and there was traffic and whatnot. And I actually thought it'll be fine because I forgot that there was a time zone change between Alabama and here. Because I'm not used to that yet. I'm still just used to. Where's Adam Hubble at? Hubble. Where's Hubble?
On Lost Brothers.
So like, because in California I could be like, I'm gonna drive 10 hours from here and not hit a time change. Like, anyway.
We laughed because the last conference, Hubble was scheduled to be one of the first presenters, and we had to move him back an hour because he forgot about the time zone change.
Yeah.
Going home's the best. Get that hour back.
Yeah. It's like
2 hour
savings
drive
time.
instead of
Time machine.
I got a TARDIS I'm driving.
Do we now have the most L3s out of any region?
Not at all.
No. Roanoke, Virginia.
The region I came from actually, I believe, has the most L3s. So Southwest region. I could be wrong with that, but
Richmond might
I mean, okay.
Roanoke, Virginia might have them.
Maybe if you count all the transplants for Star City, then possibly. I'm not sure.
The hive, the giant sucking sound that's near Roanoke that just pulls everybody. Yeah.
I mean, but there were like 5 or 6 of them within an hour's drive of where I lived in San Jose. Okay.
Hey, we haven't counted. We're not anywhere close.
Yeah, no, not at all. 3
At
is.
least
That's
we
not
now have an L3 that's not in the Orlando area.
right. I know.
Yeah, we definitely have the most charismatic judges in the
It's a shame Ben McDowell couldn't be here.
That's why we.
Who else has a question?
Jared Silva. I believe he's on a plane man.
I think somebody over here raised their hand earlier. Do you have a question?
I was just asking about the logistical nightmare that is Cube Draft as a format for FNM.
Sure.
I was wondering if there's going to be any addressing towards that.
Probably not. There are stores that already do Cube Draft events, and those stores will want to sanction it as FNM, and they already have a plan for how they're going to do it. It's probably not going to be frequent that a community that doesn't already Cube is going to suddenly start doing it for FNM. Because one of the things you have to remember is that as a store, if you sanction FNM, you can't sanction a billion different FNMs. You can do one if you're an event, or you can do 2 Friday Night Magic events, and that's it. And if standard and draft is, well, are they moving up to 3 now? 3. Okay, even so. Standard Draft Modern, that's it. You can't, probably not going to have something like Cube Draft take that up unless your community already has a scene for it, in which case you already have it figured out. This could be
Say I want to start running Cube Draft FNMs. How much do I really need to care about not using proxies?
100% need to care.
Okay.
Yeah, it does not matter if it's casual or not. If it's a sanctioned event, you do not use proxies. The question was, can I use proxies in Cube Draft? No.
Or in the same goes EDA.
If it's sanctioned, you cannot. If it is a sanctioned event, you cannot use proxies unless it is an Innistrad checklist card for a card that you actually got in your limited pool.
Hey, look, Adam's Hubble back. Hey, Adam.
We were talking about you earlier, man. We were talking about you. Time zones, apparently, there was a thing.
You guys are time zone buddies.
I don't understand it either.
All right, is there another question?
All right, I'll do one. Go for it.
I know it hasn't happened yet, but do you as L3s have any opinion on PBT? That logistics and all that stuff?
Mine's to be determined.
So this is the first weekend for them, right?
That's an extremely, that's an extremely broad question.
So are you?
What exactly are you getting at? Format? Like, what do you mean have an opinion on it? Like, I put into the screen.
What do you think of the framework? What do you think could have been done better from the opposite?
So you're talking about the overall system?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see what happens with it. I'm really excited about a few things. And one of the things is I'm excited that more local stores are going to get the opportunity to run these kind of events. I am extremely excited about that because there are a lot of local stores that can run a good event that don't have the opportunity because they're just not big enough to run an actual, what we would call a real PTQ at this point. But they can run a good event. And this is going to give them the opportunity to show that. It's also going to give the Magic players, the market, the opportunity to choose which of those stores they want to go to instead of going, well, this store runs the PTQs in our area every month or 3 months or whatever, so I have to go there. They can go to, you know what, I don't like that store as much because of whatever reason. I could choose to go to this other one that have PTQ instead.
Okay. So I have a concern about the new PPTQ format, and we're gonna see if it's gonna bear out. But right now, the expectation for some of these PPTQs, some of the events are going to be small, some of the events are going to be large, and if they're small, they're not going to require a second judge. Okay, if it's 20 players or 16 players, it's going to be very hard to get the TO to justify having an L2 on staff and an L1 on staff. And if you look at the L1 or the L2 requirements for becoming an L2, it's gonna become, if those PPTQ events are smaller, yes, they will be more frequent. Yes, the L1 will get more Comp-Rel experience, but they won't have the large event Comp-Rel experience that a PTQ right now gives. So I have long-term, and this is just me personally, I have long-term concerns about the impact at which training L1s for large events or at large events is going to occur at. I think that there's ultimately going to be less opportunities because we've now diffused even the RPTQs, okay, which are the melting pots. I think in Jacksonville there was a Reddit forum where people were estimating the size. I think Jacksonville had an estimated 61 players. Atlanta had 80, 90, something like that. That's a lot smaller than the 150. That's a lot smaller than the 150, 175 player PTQs that we have now.
And I was being a little tongue-in-cheek originally, and I really want to stand by. I want to see how it goes. There's going to be growing pains, and I think we're going to have to just adjust. Both judges and TOs are going to just have to be flexible for this first wave, get through this first season, and just go and try to make it better for the next season.
Hold it overhead. I mean, can we get another table over here? Let's get a chair. Put it on there.
It's all about the base.
Corey, a couple of boxes of
I'm going to get to you in just a second, and I want to touch on that. I'm hearing a lot of questions and concern about like what's going to happen with all these changes that are happening. Is this better? There we go. Okay, cool. So I'm getting a lot of concern about all the changes that are happening. Who here was a judge in 2011? A few hands. Not a lot of people compared to the rest of the room. You guys will remember that we had a change to what level 1 meant, and shortly thereafter what level 2 meant, 2011. And there was a whole lot of, the sky is falling, oh no, this is going to kill the program. And it didn't. This program is much bigger than it has ever been. So I don't think we're going to get into a situation where we end up with the sky falling, because we're going to go, even if it is, we're going to go, oh, wow, the sky's kind of falling, we should fix that, and fix it. But right now, I want to see how it plays out, but I think we're going to be fine. He had a question back there.
So, does this raise any concern that due to the number of stores that are able to hold PPTQs that will stretch the current level 2 staff thin, and that with the stricter requirements to become level 2 and fewer opportunities for level 1 judges to gain large tournament experience, that training new level 2s to fill those gaps will be harder. Is there going to be a bottleneck?
I think there's always a concern with finding opportunities and making it work. This is going to do two things. We're going to have a lot more events, so instead of just the current system where you may not get a PTQ in your area, you now are going to have events. And if your community supports them, then you're going to have the right number of judges. You know, if the number of tournaments keeps increasing, then you're going to have an opportunity to have more judges because the tournaments are going to be large enough and you're going to be able to warrant having more judges and you'll be able to have that opportunity to have the growth and development. And I think, you know, I've seen a lot of good things from level 2 judges reaching out when they realize that there's potential to be stretched. Hey, you know, if you guys are going to need me, I need you to work a schedule that I can help you with. You know, because I can't be in 2 places at one time. So if you guys double up, well, I'm only going to be able to one of them. So I think the community's taking an approach that's going to help alleviate some of the concerns, but it's on both TOs and judges to really work together.
Somebody over there had their hand raised, and then there was somebody here. So, was it you?
Just a couple of numbers you gave for the games and everything like that. If those numbers were to stay the same, do you think that powers would be revert back to the format or change to the format?
So what Wizards has shown in the past is a willingness to listen to the players and to make adjustments and make changes. So if they run the RPTQs and it turns out to not be what they were wanting or what they were hoping it to be, then yes, most definitely they will change it. I think we're probably, at least for this first wave and probably the second wave, we're going to just see what happens. And if what comes out of it is good, then it'll continue. If what comes out of it is bad, then they're going to take rapid steps to change things.
And I think if you followed any of the WMC coverage, Helene Bergeron was on there and she was talking about wanting to have feedback from both players and judges, and if there was feedback, to give it to them so that they can try to make this system work. And I think Jess touched on it a little bit earlier too, having more stores that have the opportunity to run these events is better. You don't have stores that are just getting blacklisted off of getting the BTQ because they're not large enough. And so this current system, as we're going into, allows for more stores to be involved, hopefully a little bit better reach to the player base as well, because you're not having the only PTQ or your only path to the Pro Tour be so far away. In some ways, it's not going to work for everybody, but unfortunately, organized play can't work for everyone.
Actually, just on your point, my reasoning behind that change is about 2 years ago they started giving PTQs, taking them away from the PTOs and giving them to the store level TOs. And what Wizards was finding was a lot of these store level stores couldn't cut it. They were getting a lot of negative feedback, especially as events started going upwards to the 200 to 300 player range. They're like, you know, there's a lot of these stores that can't handle it. They're not wanting to rent the event space necessary to run these PTQs in some of these areas. So what do? The answer is more events, more frequently. And at that point, it's like, give every store a chance to run one of these events. You're gonna get 40 to 60 players, and hope that solves that problem.
You want to summarize for the people? All right. I think we're okay.
Were you able to hear that?
You can say it.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the comment that Mr. Romain made was that that PTQs, I was making sure I was using the right number of P's. PTQs, yes, were being run by stores, and Wizards was getting the feedback that a lot of them just couldn't handle the size. They weren't prepared for it. They weren't willing to do what was necessary to make the proper make the event run right for the size of people that they were getting. So the decision was to split things up. I guess that's
Yeah.
It's based on just conversations and stuff like that. I mean, there hasn't been any sort of official word or anything.
Yeah, no official word, but conversations I've had with certain people is like the feedback has always been, there's been a lot of negative feedback at these store level PTQs.
Okay.
So I know you have your hand up, but I believe the young lady here had a question. You still have a question? Okay.
On a slightly different topic, I've heard that since there's been some slight delay in sending out the first wave of exemplar foils, is there going to be a similar delay in L2s being able to make exemplar recommendations?
That's a good question.
Okay. All right, I am on the project. So yes, there have been some delays in getting out wave 1 of the exemplar stuff. Yes, that is going to impact the beginning of wave 2. Why? Because we don't want to start wave 2 before mailings start going out for wave 1, because that's really poor.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, at this particular point, from the judge program standpoint, we're done. Everything's done. The exemplar recommendations have been made. They've been turned over to WotC. We've published the results. We are now waiting for Wizards to do the mailing, and they had some technical difficulties which delayed things, and now we're in the holiday crunch, which if any of you work for large corporations, you know that end of the year is always a time to prioritize things to get done, and realistically, probably sending out the foils is not as high on the priority list as many of us would like it to be.
So these should be like Valentine's Day gifts, not Christmas gifts.
Well, or 4th of July.
People are still giving complaints.
But the point is, it hasn't gone away. We on the team are just as frustrated as the people that are looking for Wave 2 to begin, for L2s to get started. In the meantime, though, what we're doing is we are taking process improvements that we learned from the first time. We're integrating it. There is going to be instead of a Google Doc that gets filled out, it's going to be integrated into Judge apps. We've been doing bug testing on that kind of thing. We've gotten articles that we've begun writing on what a good exemplar reco looks like based on the ones that we got. So really, we're just looking for some movement on Wizard's side before we can start rolling this stuff out. So it's not forgotten.
Go ahead, yeah.
So in a whole, how do you feel the first wave went?
You want to start and then I'll... I mean,
As with any new process, there are problems. Same answer with the PPTQ system. You know, there were issues, and I think, like Brian said, they've started to implement some feedback. We wanted to, the program as a whole wanted to do something to retain the judge foils, and this was a great method to do that. But whenever you have a new system, you've got to figure out a way to best implement it, and it won't happen on the first, second, maybe even third wave.
I'd also like to point out that
You
broke it.
Broke it.
Zero straight.
We found a script tonight.
The Dunkosaurus is T-Rex arms.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
You moved.
Okay, we good now? Awesome. All right. So, one thing I want to point out, I think a lot of people forget.
About a lot of people forget about the first wave of the exemplar program is that it was an experimental thing. Like, they said, we are going to do this basically so we can find the things that are wrong with it and fix them before we just mass produce it, right? So that's what's happening. They're finding problems and then fixing it before they send that to everybody. So I'm actually, like you said, yeah, with any new process there's problems, but that was expected. It's not like it was, surprise, here are all these problems. They're like, what's wrong with this? Let's fix it.
So one of the things. All right. So one of the things that we learned in just looking at the number of recommendations was made was that it looks like that L3s don't interact with a whole lot of L1s. Does it work now? How about now? Okay, so I'm just gonna keep my hand up because it seems that works. I'm gonna try. Okay, hey. So what it looked like was not all the recommendations got used to go to L1s. So there was less allocated to L1s, or rather less used than we would have liked. The desire is when we bring L2s into the mix, that will fix that problem. Also, we'll adjust the numbers accordingly. So that is one of the things that we learned and we are making changes on. Next question.
There's a hand over here.
Yeah. If there comes a situation where someone has a concern that they want to bring to the RCAC about a member of the RCAC with fear of political retaliation, do you have suggestions for how to navigate that?
Yeah. No, I don't know the RCAC.
The RC. Yeah, it's the RCAC.
I know what it is.
All right. So
that's a good question.
Yeah. So the question was, if you have a complaint about someone on the regional coordinator something committee, advisory committee, if you have a complaint about someone on the RCAC, and how do you submit it to the RCAC without it coming back to get you? So the first thing I'll point out is with our brand new shiny code of conduct document, it explicitly calls out that retaliatory actions violate the code of conduct policy. The group that evaluates that is separate from the RCAC. Okay, they are not the same body of people. So you can submit issues if you think it is a violation of the code of conduct. You can submit it on the new website. You can do so anonymously. That point, what I want to point out, if you do submit something anonymously, it's more there as kind of the checkbox is more of a reminder for you to not reveal who you are in your anonymous submission. Also, you can go to another regional coordinator and express your concerns. That's really the only stuff that you can do, as far as you can go talk to a superior, and I mean that by the regional coordinators, that kind of thing. You can go talk to an L4+. You can submit something to the code of conduct committee. And you should not necessarily fear, I don't know the specifics of the situation, but you shouldn't fear retaliation, because I would hope that we're all adults.
Yeah, I wanted to have that as an explicit assumption of my scenario.
What's that?
Let's assume that whoever does fear political retaliation.
Okay, if someone does fear political retaliation, then probably if you can't go to the specific person that you're concerned about because you're bringing concerns about them, I would go to another regional coordinator that you trust, or another L3 that you trust, and speak with them about how to proceed. Okay, because there are options out there for addressing issues like that. You just need to talk to a judge, and we can help you navigate those straights and narrows. Okay. You got to follow up?
Yeah, relating to that, the L3+, or even just HLJ general community can seem kind of tight-knit at times, especially to us outsiders, and so it's hard to kind of figure out how to do anything with it.
Okay.
Which other L3s to go to, are they connected to this
So the
group?
question is, all right, so all the high-level judges, we seem to talk to each other. So how do you know who to talk to? So we as a judge program, we are interested in bettering ourselves, that kind of thing. So if you have a concern, we are going to listen to it. If it's about another judge, even if we like them, we are going to take you seriously. We are going to listen. And if it's something where we feel that we have a conflict of interest, we will send you to someone else. That recently happened, I think, in one of the blogs dealing with the code of conduct stuff. Jean Cantanese, who's the head of the committee, in one of the blogs actually said that he excused himself from a recent investigation because of connections to the judge in question. So that does happen. It is a real thing in which we will do.
The judge program in general is pretty tight-knit, and the high-level judges are no exception to that. A lot of us and us. I don't know if there's 3. How old are you? A lot of us have come up together in the program, right? These guys started 5 years ago. I started not long after that, and
Can't hear me?
I started not long after that. So it can seem like we are, an old boys club, if you will. I would say that most L3s that you run into are professional enough if you say, hey, I have an issue and it's serious and I need to talk about it, to do one of those things. Or either deal with the situation or say, this is not something I can deal with because I'm close to it, this is a person you should talk to. And if you are not getting that kind of response from an L3, you should talk to a different one. Because there are more than a few of us running around that can help you with these situations, and we actually do care about the judge program. And that means all of the individuals in it and their situations. So if you have an issue like that, please, come talk to me about it, or talk to Brian about it, or talk to Billy about it. But if you feel like you can't talk to one of us for some reason, there are others you can talk to. And if you have I think we've exhausted this topic a little bit. If you have more specific questions about it, I'd be
Happy to talk to you about it afterwards.
I see a hand over here. Go ahead.
Yes, so we made a committee for the judges. I know that there is in works for a committee to be put in place for the players to police themselves outside of Magic events. To what capacity are they going to be able to do that? And what are the repercussions that would stem from, say, the 3 brackets that the judge code now has? Will players be receiving something along those lines as well?
Not enough that I can talk intelligently about it.
Honestly, that is so, from my understanding, that is so early in the works that we can't really speculate on it. So I have no idea. I'm sure it will be reasonable, but I have no idea what it's going to be. If you have information about it that you've heard, I'm interested, because I know a lot of times players hear things and then stories spread and things get bigger than they actually are. So if you're like, well, I heard from so-and-so, such and such, I'm interested to know what you heard, but I don't think there's anything specific that we've been informed of.
Does anybody else have a question? Just turn it off.
Are there other questions?
I have more, but we're about out of time, so if you want to stop there.
You guys want to keep going, or do you want to? I think there's sushi waiting.
Some people are hungry.
Just gonna throw that out there.
There is sushi.
How hungry are you guys?
I've got the microphone.
Let me ask the question.
I've got the microphone, so we're going to keep going.
I've got to get down there and make sure we have the reservation ready. So.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question that nobody has asked that we all should have asked. Where's Turner?
Okay. All right. He's excited.
He is currently in the possession of Hong Kong. he may or may not be coming back.
Somewhere now, right?
Is it true that he is there to confirm the counterfeit production facility?
Confirm or deny. I will not confirm nor deny those rumors.
You guys want more?
Sure.
What's your favorite after event story?
Oh boy. With the new code of conduct, I cannot talk.
All right. So this is one that's kind of recent that can be told with the new code of conduct policy. So after an event, we decided where we were going to go to dinner. We ended up at Cracker Barrel. Yeah. All right, because it was open. Yes. So yes, it's mashed potatoes. All right. So Turner asks the waitress, he's like, hey, I want to get the chicken fried steak, and it comes with 2 sides. I want 2 sides of mashed potatoes, and if I finish those, can you bring me some more for free? And the waitress was just like, I got you, honey child. And he goes, okay, great. So she comes back, and she puts down 5 bowls of mashed potatoes. And she says, if you finish those 2, or if you finish all of it, they're free. And Turner says, got it. And he starts eating and eating. And not eating his chicken fried steak, but he's eating the mashed potatoes. And he starts slowing down about 2.5. And then like a little kid, he just starts pushing it around on the other bowls. He starts pushing the food around, trying to make it look like he finished. Hiding mashed potatoes in his napkin. He doesn't finish. She billed him for all 5. So we go outside after dinner, and because this was the Saturday of a 2-day event, we're standing outside. He looks so unhappy, so miserable. He's just holding his belly. And he's like, I can feel it when I turn. The next morning he started complaining about the mashed potato sweats. And then the next morning, he's looking kind of tired. And it's like, oh man, you're looking kind of tired. What's the problem? He's like, well, I'm a stomach sleeper. And I couldn't sleep on my stomach. Because my butt was in the air. Because of the mashed potatoes. So I didn't get any sleep. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. We good? Want to keep going?
Sure, you're in charge. What's your favorite podcast?
How hungry is everybody?
Yeah. My favorite podcast? Yeah. Limited Resources.
Nice.
We should let people know that they can go to the restaurant if they want to, but we can keep going.
Well, I think we should probably
there's foils after this.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna leave without those.
Right.
You want to donate them to us? I mean, we'll keep going.
I think it's probably a good place to stop. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.